Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing up this morning to officially welcome back Kelly Krauskopf as President of Basketball Business Operations for the Indiana.
What if the WNBA's establishment is secretly trying to destroy the one person who has the capacity to propel the league to new heights? Millions of fans feel that Caitlin Clark is the target of a covert war because of a series of shocking on-court incidents, contentious off-court remarks, music, and a brutal, heartless decision from the highest levels of authority. This may sound like a psychotic dream. The truth of this unfolding tale is deeper and more nuanced than anyone could have imagined, revealing a league at odds with its own riches. Caitlin Clark's selection by the Indiana Fever with the first overall pick was heralded as a momentous occasion that would alter the trajectory of women's professional basketball. She wasn't your typical talented rookie. She was a cultural force of nature and a roaming supernova that had drastically altered record books and college viewership. Her matches were attracting more people than MLB playoff games and Stanley Cup finals. She was the golden goose, the chosen one, and she was the only one who made the league transition from commercial to private charters. For years, veterans have been advocating for this change. Arenas that had previously had an abundance of empty seats were selling out in a matter of minutes as secondary market ticket sales surged to previously unheard-of levels. Caitlin Clark had an instantaneous, noticeable, and sincere influence. Everything was set up for a spectacular coronation, a hero's professional debut that would improve the sport overall. Rather, she endured a brutal, relentless fire baptism. The welcome mat was taken from under her and replaced with a gauntlet. Her first game made it terrifyingly clear that this would not be an easy transition. There was a very different level of physicality. Not only were defenders occupying space, but they were also bigger, more powerful, and faster. They were sending a message with every hard screen, music push, and bump. But this was not only a strong, professional defense. It was quite personal. Music. It was a nasty, targeted effort that appeared to have been meticulously orchestrated to keep her in check, punish her, and make her question her place in this league. And that unspoken message was going to be conveyed in the most obvious, undeniable way possible, sparking a flurry of discussion that would lift the curtain and expose the darkness. Mash the resentful underbelly of the league. The worst story was just getting started with the hits she was taking on the court. Everyone in the sports world realized something was severely, horribly wrong during a heated game against the Chicago Sky. It wasn't a hard screen while fighting for position or a challenging box out under the rim. A vicious blindside shoulder hit that has no place in a basketball game was delivered by Kennedy Carter. Carter not only committed a foul, but also attacked Clark. A cheap, cowardly, and blatant shot that was made far from the ball violently knocked Clark to the ground. As soon as the play went viral, there was a global outcry of protest. This was not a musical welcome to the league. This communication was sent with malicious intent and was a deliberate attempt to do harm. Carter's haughty refusal to answer any questions about the event that followed further fueled the flames, along with her girlfriend Angel Reese's evident, ecstatic celebration on the sidelines. The long-standing hostility and jealousy that many had thought were boiling beneath the league's surface were exposed by this one horrible incident, which became a metaphor for all that was wrong. The WNBA's pathetic initial response, a common foul that was only elevated to a flagrant one following harsh public criticism, told fans everything they needed to know. The league's biggest star would not be protected. Caitlin Clark was by herself. This confrontation involves multiple players on one side. The entire league was affected by the phenomena. Veterans who felt she had not earned her stripes or paid her dues made a concentrated effort. While everyone else was talking about the foul and the league's cowardice, a much more terrible story began to emerge from a place no one wanted to believe: her own locker room. Music. As the season progressed, a very alarming tendency became apparent that online detectives, retired players, and professional basketball analysts could not ignore. Caitlin Clark, arguably the best shooter in the world, would be wide open on the perimeter, palms music up, and repeatedly ask for the ball, but her teammates would completely ignore her. The tape was undeniable. Passes would be forced into players who were double-covered in the paint as Clark stood alone, ensuring 3 points. The chemistry of the Indiana Fever's encore didn't only appear odd now. It appeared fractured, shattered, and occasionally deliberately undermined. Annoyed looks at the music, the bench, and frustrated body language. The team gained notoriety for their intensive, silent meetings. The conversation that arose on social media gave rise to a more compelling and dangerous conspiracy idea. Her own squad was deliberately limiting her touches and freezing her out in order to keep her stats low and degrade her. Were they jealous of the unprecedented amount of media attention, the massive multi-million-dollar Nike contract that came with a trademark shoe and song, and the undeniable fact that a 22-year-old rookie was now the focal point of the team's identity? Despite season standout Aaliyah Boston's enigmatic post-game comments, these doubts persisted. When reporters questioned her about the seeming lack of chemistry, her answers were frequently brief, evasive, and full of business jargon, which suggested a deeper irritation she was reluctant to voice in public. The story was rapidly shifting from a simple description of a rookie struggling to adapt to the horrifying possibility of an internal uprising. In addition to her opponents, were the athletes who were supposed to be her friends also purposefully destroying her generational potential? This internal struggle created the perfect storm, music, and an environment of chaos and distrust. Just as the league's powerful old guard was preparing to give an even more explicit, official, and devastating message, the animosity wasn't confined to the court. It was being amplified in the media by the league's most respected speakers. Veteran performers from the past and present may initiate a clandestine but persistent attempt to reduce her significance and make the brutal torture she was enduring seem normal. The most well-known example was WNBA legend Diana Taurasi, who, even before she was recruited, coldly predicted Clark's approaching reality. A comment that casually ignores the apparent truth that there has never been a rookie in the history of professional sports music, but in hindsight appears more like a scary prognosis or even a threat than an objective appraisal. Other players and analysts rationalized the relentless roughness by callously dismissing it as standard operating procedure for any rookie who has ever entered a league with this magnitude of a bullseye on their back. Unavoidably, the conversation grew more dishonest and convoluted when it turned to the extremely delicate dynamics of a white player's rise to prominence in a predominantly black league. As many rightly pointed out, the media's relentless savior narrative unjustly and inadvertently destroyed the incredible legacies of the black women who had worked in relative anonymity for years to build the WNBA from the bottom up. This created a perfect storm of cultural conflict, professional jealousy, and righteous indignation. There was an intellectual battle between the new phenomenon, which represented a significant shift in the financial and cultural landscape of athletics, and the old generation, who felt their huge accomplishments were being mercilessly disregarded. The rising tide that draws all boats to them wasn't her. Everything they had worked so hard to establish was in danger of being destroyed by the tidal wave of hype that was her. Millions of admirers would be in disbelief. The decision reached at the highest level of the sport as a result of this simmering, unspoken conflict that was about to become an official, undeniable policy left them perplexed and utterly duped. The most damning proof that there were powerful institutional forces actively working against Caitlin Clark, rather than a rival athlete or a jealous teammate, came from the group entrusted with representing the United States of America abroad. In a decision that defied logic, Caitlin Clark was left off of the USA Olympic team for the Paris Games. Monetary, competitive, and other. The decision stunned the whole world of international sports. It was incomprehensible. This basketball player was the most watched, talked about, and well-liked in the globe. A woman who recently proved she could increase a minor sports audience to Super Bowl levels. Additionally, she was informed that she lacked the necessary skills to serve as a reserve. Music. The formal defenses offered by the committee were flimsy, obviously offensive, and evident. They brought up her alleged lack of senior national team experience and her ambiguous wish for unity within the team. Even though some of the players who did make the squad had less experience or were having statistically poorer seasons, everyone with a head knew the real reason. This was the most effective gatekeeping measure available. You are not among us. We don't give a damn about how famous you are, how many admirers you have, or how much money you make. You are not invited to this exclusive club. The choice was self-defeating and terrible. It was an official declaration from the organization, a communication from USA Basketball's ivory tower. Given that it was clearly driven by pride, politics, and personal feelings, it appeared to be an official declaration of war against the future of their own sport. As the Globe and the sports media went bananas, all eyes were on the front office of the Indiana Fever. Their franchise player, their golden goose, and the sole source of their newfound importance had just publicly embarrassed them on a global scale. All of their true allegiances would be revealed by their response. Everyone was waiting for the Indiana Fever organization to make a huge comeback since their star player was at the center of a global maelstrom. Fans, commentators, and sponsors all expected a passionate defense of their star. They anticipated a strong press release criticizing the Olympic Committee's ridiculous decision and a public declaration of unwavering support for their distressed child. Rather, they encountered a soul-crushing, purposeful, and deafening silence. Fever-only President Lynn Dunn and the rest of the front office made the most measured, clinical, corporate-approved comments about focusing on the WNBA season, Caitlyn's bright future, and the importance of the long term. There was absolutely no struggle, no fire, no anger, and no feeling. And in that dreadful moment of inaction, the terrible decision from the video's title was finally revealed. There was not a single severe foul or a controversial roster rejection. The Indiana Fever had to make the difficult strategic choice not to fight for their most valuable asset, music. To avoid upsetting the powerful and vindictive establishment of the league, they chose to play the political game rather than defend the person who was entirely funding their team's comeback. It was a devastating betrayal, a clear declaration to Clark that she was a commodity, an asset to be managed and profited from, rather than a player to be supported and defended. They sold her jerseys by the truckload and excitedly packed their arena to the rafters. But when it came time to protect her from the well-established old guard, they shied away. Even her own organization was willing to momentarily endanger her well-being in order to maintain their tenuous position within the league's harsh and ruthless power structure, as evidenced by this cruel economic calculation. A terrible truth about the cruelty of professional sports was exposed by the Olympic snub music and this purposeful silence. At the core of the entire vast conflict is a fundamental conflict between two powerful opposing forces, the unyielding money machine that is music and the rigidly established culture. Caitlin Clark is the money. Her rookie salary is an astonishingly low $76,000, which she most likely earns for the league in just one quarter of play. She is personally responsible for generating tens of millions of dollars for the WNBA overall. Teams who used to play in front of small crowds in smaller college gyms now fill NBA facilities with 20,000 seats. Due to the fact that she is a member of the opposing team, it is anticipated that the league's national television rights deal will increase in value from just $60 million to possibly more than $240 million. The record jump was almost entirely due to her presence. By all